Hey everyone, this is Troy Myers, and welcome to another reading of the Stonehouse Reader Series. We are alumni from the Stone Coast MFA program at the University of Southern Maine, and we decided a few weeks ago, myself and a couple of friends, that amidst all the isolation of the lockdown, that we would get together and read just publicly for anyone to participate. So if you're an alumnus or alumni and you haven't read yet, please let me know. If you've already read and want to read again, please let me know. So Stone Coast is a very diverse program. They teach popular fiction, creative nonfiction, which is memoir, and poetry, which was my genre. We have some very special guests tonight, and all three of these people I'm very excited to hear read. Before I do that, I'll send a quick shout out to Amanda. Amanda Plow was also in my class, and she is running all the background here. So if this looks good, it's because Amanda's doing the tech side, and I'm very grateful for her really production of this weekly event. So, and as always, hi to my mom and hi to Amanda's mom, because you know you're watching. So our first guest tonight, his name is Indigo Moor. Indigo was probably the first person I met who had been to Stone Coast. I think he is also the first person that ever saw me read a poem in public at a little winery where I open mic'd one of his readings before I went to Stone Coast. He is a great person and a friend and a great poet and fiction writer. So let's bring him on. If you're there, I can do. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a great time.
I'm so glad. You have a new book that just came out.
I do. Everybody's Jonesing for Something came out technically March 1st, but it was, as it is always, there were copies being bought and produced a couple of weeks before that. Okay. And I just found out 3 days ago that there's only 9 copies left at the publisher. So,
wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
It's a very good thing, yes.
They're going to make more, of course.
Well, yeah. I'm going to write them a letter to let them know that I know it's doing so well, because, you got to let them know that you're proud of it. And, yeah, just see what's going to happen next. But I'm very happy about that.
That's fantastic. And you've had how many books now?
This is my 4th book.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, sincerely. Well, if you're ready, we'd like to hear you read.
I am ready. I'm going to read a couple of pieces from Everybody's Jonesing for Something, and then I'll go to a few pieces from former books. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the term rumspringer, and we all use it in a very different fashion than the Amish actually do. We look at it as a time when young Amish are given a chance to visit the outside world. That doesn't really happen. But this is a poem entitled Creole Rumspringer, where I was on the other end of something very similar. I never thanked you for your black heart, for bucking your paper bag friends, for bumping thighs to Sugar Hill. The funk I gave, you took, for the 2x2s of 4x4s. Forgive my blackness, the stain on your high yellow dinner table. Thank you for slipping me the right fork for the salad. When the crow swooped, your daddy drew a lead hole through its heart, then looked at me like a wish he forgot to make. Remember that? Your hallway to 5 bedrooms for 3 people? Damn, that's still dizzying. A solid oak room waiting to be filled, a vacuum for unwritten laughter. Sorry, I wore tattered dress Converse to your party. Your mother's unbroken rhythm of tisks and condescension still rankles my ass. Your uncle asked where my father went to school, and my teeth ground unspun glass. Incognegro. I get that joke now. You called me Invisible Man, and I thought Claude Rains, never dreaming you'd want to slap the country grin from my mouth, strain out everything in me that was black and ugly. The book is mostly about being lost. It's about people wanting things that want didn't necessarily designate it was something you needed to have, or craving things. This is a poem that was very much about me at a time when I was so lost I had no idea I was. Lost in the world machine. I'm 17 and black, nimble as Jack, jumping I-beams like candles. An air hose hisses like Medusa's head tied to my wrist. This refining machine performs the alchemy to turn rusted steel virginal again. But it's stinging me to death. Gray hot pellets jet from tiny holes, blackstrap horseflies cutting away the oxidation. Like the foreman's gaze, they always find the tender flesh. I'm summer college fodder, working shit jobs before humping a train back to Raleigh. The welders, first sparks of the day, always make me flinch. Dust-laden smoke circles the rafters, ropey chains hanging like man-o'-war tendrils, like a trembling curtain of almost lynchings. I'm a harlequin, playing cards with someone else's deck. I know as much about refining steel as I do about studying textbooks. I'm hard-tracked to do both or neither, until pressure guises out my brain, until I roll snake eyes with the future. Maybe if I throw myself into this machine, I could save my feet this tortured road. Crosstown bus passes dig deep into minimum wage. An old lady shuffles after my bus as it pulls from the curb. I don't reach the pull cord in time to give her a fighting chance. Or, like my absentee father might say, maybe I just didn't try hard enough. Stone Coast was viable to me because I got to learn poetry, but poetry was something that I had a pretty good handle on by the time I was there. I got to refine my poetic senses, but also got to study fiction and study script writing, and just as importantly, study the differences between them, the changes I had to make in myself, mostly mental changes, to write in different genres. I want to read a flash fiction piece, also from Everybody's Jonesing for Something. Blackberries. Side by side, we walk this last dirt road together. It's a star-catcher moon, my brother said. See how it's shaped like an upside-down sickle, like a cupped hand? See what I mean? He was pointing with his left hand because his right arm was broken, thudding against his side like a screen door in a breeze. His left hand wasn't much better, bloody, the fingers swollen, but at least it worked. He held the hand to the sky, cupped it beneath the moon. See, you could drop a star right into it. He was home from Yale for all of 3 days, but you wouldn't know it from the way he looked. There was no Ivy League in that swollen jaw or black eye. Ivy League students didn't hang out on unlit shit-kicking dust roads with fucked up little brothers like me. My vision swam sideways and then rushed back, slamming against my eyes, wobbling them in their sockets. My right knee lost focus and buckled under the cloudless sky. He was having trouble keeping up with me. His breath wheezed like a tractor that had pulled one too many plows, as if one lung wasn't working so good. But still, he wouldn't shut up. That star above the moon, I know it looks like it's standing still, but it's falling. Almost too slow to see, but it's falling, I tell you. If you watch it long enough, you'll see it drop right into the moon. At 12, squeezed into a tire swing in the backyard while he sat on the porch telling me stories, I might have believed that crap. But that boy was gone, buried beneath 5 summers of drought and withered tobacco harvests. It's Mars, I told him. I was guessing. I couldn't look up to check. My neck was full of ground glass. My stargazing days were over for a little while, maybe longer. We were on the downside of a grade. The road rose to a steep crest behind us. There were no headlights coming over the hill, not yet. We shuffled along while the crickets mocked us from the blackberry bushes. I thought I heard a truck 3 times before it was real, a diesel engine building up its chops. I spun all the way around and faced the hill, hoping my brother would keep walking, praying that he would. He turned and stood beside me. Headlights climbed the backside of the hill like a forest fire. I don't need you to fight my battles for me, I said. I know. I didn't even ask you to come back. He put his hand on my shoulder. I shrugged it off. The truck straddled the top of the hill like a rabid animal, crazed eyes tunneling through the dark. It paused, sighted us, then leapt into its charge. Sirens went off in my head. We moved like the brothers time and distance had made us, diving to opposite sides of the road. Thorns tore at me like every thought I'd had of him since he left me to rot on the farm. The pickup spun dirt, then roared to a stop. Boots hit the ground. I stumbled through the briar for hours, or maybe just minutes, moonlight tracking me like a hellhound. I fell into a clearing where a farmhouse squatted, dressed up in faded reds and peeling whites. I got to my knees and took off for the safety of the welcome mat I hoped was on the porch. It was close, tantalizingly close. The breath on my neck told me I would never make it. I believe one of the most difficult things to write about is a persona, and a persona poem is basically you're writing from someone else's perspective. It's not just the voice that matters, that you're picking someone else. It's the desire, the impetus to find someone who thinks differently or somewhat that thinks differently than you do. Tim Siebels, who's also a Stone Coast person, he taught there for a number of years, wrote an incredible poem called Ambition, Cow, and Microphone. And it's about a cow on a hillside with a microphone. It's an incredible poem, highly recommend it. But writing from someone whose outlook is different from yours, maybe even completely contrary to yours, is a wonderful exercise. It not only can produce something that's startling, but it also gives you a chance to make sure that you are looking at outlooks other than your own. So I have a poem entitled Love Letter to Dr. Christine Ford from the Patriarchy. Dear Christine, what has happened to our women? I won't drag reason into your delusion, swatting at windmills with a broom. You complain, even as 1,000 cameras section you like a hog. In the 50s, we would have doused your furnace with Valium. My mother could watch hummingbirds for hours. The inside of her skull, Rorschach flashcards. But the pot roast was never late. Honey, I'm fighting for this country. Cracking eagle eggs into frying pans to make us great again. Rebranding swastikas, painting their arms red-striped and blue-eyed. Hell, I'll reach my hand up Lady Liberty's copper skirt and goose the flame if I have to. Sluice purple mountains, pan the American dream from streams crimson with Native American blood. And this is how you thank the architects of paradise. Be reasonable. Drag the viper from the cigar box. Patriotism is a horse losing your name in a bet. Open this gift box. Here is a charred chunk of greenwood, some faded California camp pictures. Remember how we tossed peanuts at Japs in cages until laughter caught stitches in our kidneys? Slow your heart. Guzzle this Librium martini. Let's fold the top down, ride through the sunset like roaring Dale. We'll pitch tents in the Alamo, my guitar strung with real Mexican guts. I'm building 2 McDonald's for every crack in the wall. Christ, woman, have you ever felt safer? Take this Prozac lemon drop and voting sheet already filled out for you. Christen my yacht. We'll save money on fireworks, shoot immigrants from cannons on the 4th. Finish the dishes. We can have sex on the foreclosure papers that turn Harlem into a street mall. It won't be college fucking, but is it ever? Hush, Chrissy. Maybe you were assaulted, but bet dollars to donuts you enjoyed it. And I want to finish with a poem. Yes, it's got 4 minutes left. I want to finish with a short poem from my 3rd book, In the Room of Thirsts and Hungers. This is nice. You get to actually show people covers here. They'd never see it if you were in an auditorium. The first poem in the book speaks of a time in 1937 when Ernest Hemingway and Langston Hughes, who were friends at that time, they were in Spain and they were correspondents to the Spanish Civil War. And it's known that they were friends. They talked about it, they wrote about it. And since they both separately wrote about bullfights, it's rumored that they went to bullfights together. And that must be true because here's the poem. A bullfight, a revolution, and a Langston. Fondling a gin flask, Hemingway quips, we should live in the ring, not to die on our butts in the stands. The matador executes Veronica, wiping the brow of a 2-ton Christ. Today, there are no nationalists, no loyalists, only Spaniards. Ernest believes the Negro will have his day, that all locked doors shatter their frames when kicked open. 3 barbed flags dive like swimmers into the bull. All poetry should be that direct, merciless to marrow. Tertia de morte, the beast sways, a cattail and a zephyr. I wonder if he can taste his ancestors' screams in the air. We could hollow his horns and trumpet 2 civil wars, America to Spain, his sacrifice uniting our struggles. There's a devil in the matador's patience, sword and muleta, the cape red not for the bull, but to hide the blood. Every revolution needs a martyr. Mules pull the carcass round the ring like Hector's at Troy. Ernest says muleta and mulatto were meant to sound alike, that both carry a man's hard choices locked in skin. Thank you very much.
Oh boy. That was fantastic, Indigo.
Thank you, Troy. It's a pleasure to be
people
here.
texting me telling me, man, he's doing a great, fantastic job.
Well, I'm glad to hear.
Such authenticity, such heart, such beautiful language.
Well, thank you very much. It's a
I will
pleasure to
definitely
be
pick
here.
up
Yeah.
the book.
All right.
And I'm very grateful you came and graced us with your presence, because that every bit of that was purely professional writing, Indigo.
Thank you. And that's
Very impressed.
a very good compliment. Thank you very much. Yes.
Very impressed.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll have you back for sure. Thank you. Our next reader is Kristabelle. Kristabelle was graduated in my class, one of the crazy, fabulous firsties of summer 15. And she mentioned it before we started, but it's true. When I was feeling alone and depressed and socially distanced, she and I were chatting something, and she said, "Oh, if you got some people together and did a reading, I'd watch." I thought, "Oh, okay." So that's how this idea was born. So very grateful to have her. She's a friend and a very sincere person. She's asked us to describe her as fictions, not just fiction, because she's writing literary fiction, mystery fiction, and she'll tell you what else. So, Kristabelle, are you ready?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Aloha.
Thank you for coming.
Hi, Stone Coasters and other friends. I'm going to read a short story called Kursanada, which was I was invited by a publishing company in the Philippines to write the wanted queer writing that was in English by Filipinos. So I wrote a short story for them. But first, I'll share a picture of my adorable toddler.
Oh, that is an adorable toddler.
Yeah, that's Royal. He's being put to bed now, but he's 2.5, so it's a little busy around
That is
here.
our first
So
baby picture. We need more
yeah,
baby pictures on this show.
unfortunately, his bedtime is around when the reading series is. So
Oh,
yeah, so let's get right into it.
you bet.
Kursanada with a K. Charlie, get the feta. Gus holds a cigarillo in one hand and slams the phone on the counter, the wire losing its coil. I look up from the vat of feta cheese and let the refrigerated air escape into my shirt. My driver's license has my real name, Charlene. Everybody at the deli calls me Charlie. I gotta see Con Ed about the bill, Gus says. He buttons his shirt and checks his teeth in the chrome counter. Call Leo to see if he can fix the condenser. Leo, the fixer's number, is on the wall under the phone. I check the calendar with the Hess gasoline girls on it, with the days crossed off, and a Morgan Fairchild look-alike, announcing each month except December, when the Hess toy gas trucks surround the Christmas tree. December's out of sight. It's July, and August means I'm finally getting out of Queens and seeing the world. Correction, the world is upstate New York. College. If I save enough at the Ephrasis Deli, it'll cover the meal plan and some new jeans. Dial Leo's number. Gus won't get a touch-tone phone in the store. He's convinced the delivery boys will make long-distance calls. Gus catches me by the collar. Counting the days, smartass. Remember when you started here? How you swore you spoke Spanish? He starts to wheeze, then lays off and let me go. First off, I never said I spoke Spanish. It's just that my last name is Ramos. Like how in the street and in the subway I get called Nino, boy, sir. Even my dad calls me Charlie. It's the name of a perfume he used to sell out of the trunk of his car. He doesn't see me stealing his pomade and old silk shirts, seeing how much of a Nino I can be. I even do it in the summer, no leather jacket needed, just slick back hair, an ace bandage wrapped tight across my chest, a sando, a men's undershirt tucked in. So what if it smells faintly of wintergreen liniment from my dad's closet? I get my height from him, and my belief that something special will happen tonight. Daddy washed his car and ran a towel over the hood with a sweet caress. He watched me polish my boots before tucking my jeans in. He coughs. At home, they call your kind magic. He never talks to me in Tagalog, even when he finds something to say. Yes, Daddy gave me height and the arrogance to pass. When he got to this country, he wouldn't get sent back, so he bought boots that made him taller and jumped higher when the local bosses were looking for men to work for the day. The guys working in the deli remind me of him, the lonely boys who came up from Central America and Mexico for work. When white people noticed them, They're all Mexican wetbacks, so what does that matter? Where they come from. But I know where they're from. Marco asks for the best phone card for Venezuela. Then Bobby wants one with the most minutes to El Salvador, and Miggy wants to call Colombia. The lonely boys move in a pack. They stay at a rented room under the 7 line, sleeping in shifts, freighting boxes from the underworld of the Afresis deli to the shelves, riding bikes in the snow for a quarter tip. Sometimes I bust out the money for a good phone card so I can call my Lola on her birthday. I want the chismis to come through the cables of the ocean floor. I want the echo to run through me until I crave my native tongue. Over by the bus stop, I hear the nurses making chismis about their patients, and I hear my mother's voice if I screw my eyes up and look up at the clouds. She left for Houston, and that's why my dad refuses to go country line dancing in the city with his pares. When a pretty girl wanders into the deli for a pack of cigarettes and a Coke, we play it cool. The boys will figure out where she's from, ask her if she speaks Spanish, and then if she's Dominican, warn her it's a Greek deli and not Dominican, so no mofongo, only gyros. If she flirts back, Ricky will offer chicken souvlaki made special. If she doesn't, or worse, if she ignores the questions, they start in on her attitude. I'll say, hey, if it gets too harsh, but the girls from around the way don't take shit from delivery boys. Well, in June, I skipped the prom to work an extra shift at the deli, and 2 girls from my school came in for cigarettes. They were in prom-themed colors of red and gold, and the deli boys had a fine time putting the mac on. The tall one was in my biology class. I stared at the nape of her neck for a whole semester, and we dissected a piglet together. I held her hand steady and stared at the nape of her neck. When she was nervous about cutting the soft, pale skin, she pretended not to recognize me behind the counter. It was better that way. I wondered if she could sense how much I wanted to touch her neck the day we performed the piglet autopsy. Outside, I played with my lighter and watched the girls get into a white limousine with their prom dates. The summer with cruel heat. Break time at the deli. A cigarette and a bag of Utz potato chips. The lonely boys cutting meat ask for a break on phone cards. They complain about which ones are shit minutes, which ones let you talk double time, but everything sounds murky. You can't tell if she's going to leave you or try to follow you up here. I get through the lunch rush dreaming of Friday night. It's payday, and Gus peels off 10s and 20s, and the lonely boys head for the bars. I break out the pomade and aftershave from my daddy's kit, cinch up the ace bandage around my chest, and adjust the metal clip with sharp teeth so the cloth is tight. I barely have tits anyway. When I bind, they don't move, and I can cut through the night without fear. Fear of what? Getting felt up, pushed against an alley wall by someone lonelier than me. For what? For being a girl. When my mom left town, I bought boys' underwear, a pocket knife, a Zippo lighter. Tonight, I place a whole lemon in a sock and place it down my jeans till it catches in the pouch of my tight cotton boys' underwear. I feel it when I walk. There's a line outside the baladeros, the dance palaces under the elevated 7 train. Blocks of storefronts with neon signs and music from back home. Men, some scrubbed, others caked with sweat. In the light of the phone booth, a woman paints her face and leans her cheek against the glass. There's a knock on the door. A pregnant girl curses the woman on the phone and fans herself with 4 phone cards. One of them should have enough to call home. This summer, I have bided my time outside the Flamingo. Brown faces dot the line of Romeos. Light-skinned mestizos with worn belt buckles. The Friday night pay packets rolled into Wrangler jeans. Gold chains and crucifixes. A flower for that special girl. Music escaped from behind the smoked glass door. The Flamingo didn't allow girls. See, all the girls were inside. $2 a dance. Any girl, as long as she was free. Oh no, not that kind of dancing. Bouncers made sure only men were let in. The men walked in single file after placing a 10 in a coffee can. They paired off with girls from under the elevated tracks of the 7 train. During the day, it was churros or the nail salon. At night, they were ladies in the Sabado Gigante game show, dancing with exaggerated hand gestures and quick feet to avoid the clomp of work boots. Before the embrace, there was an exchange. Pop opened the purse, dropped the dollars for a dance. And there she was. Electric blue, scooped out top over one shoulder. The glitter made me see stars. Hair over one eye, like Lisa, standing underneath the Colombian flag. The glitter, mini skirt and high heels. At the bar, she applied lipstick like she was detailing the door of a hoopty. I adjusted my belt buckle and let the Christmas lights find me. She said one word, dance? Then she opened her purse and I dropped $2 bills in. She snapped it closed and took me by the hand. Siempre is what I wanted to say. Of course. What did she hear? In Spanish, did it mean always or forever? My hands betrayed my nerves. I didn't know what to do with them. She took them in hers and snapped them around her waist. Hey, I'm Esme. Then she spoke Spanish really fast. I shook my head no, and then she put her hand on the back of my neck when the song changed. The other hand snapped open the little purse she had slung around her bare shoulder. You can put some more in if you want more songs. Okay. I grabbed 2 5s from the bulge in my pocket near the lemon, which was sliding around my jockey shorts with the very fast cumbia song percussively swung around the room. The smell of sawdust and buttered popcorn collided with Esme's perfume. Her mouth moved near mine. Sorry, it just looked like you spoke Spanish. I shuffled my feet as fast as I could when the 2 minutes was over and the DJ played the Spanish version of Ghostbusters to get some separation between the hips of the lonely boys and the backsides of the girls. I get that a lot. I'm Charlie, I said. Esme pulled me closer when the Ghostbusters moved on to the next haunting, and the voice of Johnny Pacheco filled the room with congas and a flute. We were alone on the dance floor in the dim blue light with the air conditioner spitting, and most of the dancers milling around the room, looking for the next purse, the next drink, the next girl that seemed a little bit like someone from home. You gotta buy me a drink, the rules. Esme pointed to the bouncers watching the crowd. At the bar, I ordered the drink of the Ramos family fridge, Colt 45. The bartender delivered a $10 drink with a tiny flamingo on the glass for Esme. The Colt 45 was about 14 inches tall and tasted like old toothpaste and Irish Spring. Little Eva's Locomotion came on, and we made a conga line with girls from the bar and some guys doing tequila shots. There was a list of rules on the mirrored wall, in Spanish, but I recognized the rule about a girl is not exclusive. The tequila conga line guys didn't read the rules. The bouncers rushed them about 2 minutes when they started acting up. Esme put her head on my shoulder and pulled me close when the next slow song came on. Her little shoulder purse popped open, and I flashed a 20 before slipping it through the clasp. Her eyes were open, and she flashed a smile. There was a pattern to the 2-minute songs, 3 fast, then 1 minute of a slow song to grind, then a Disney anthem to keep everybody dancing like a grandma. We fit together. Esme brushed the front of my jeans and rubbed my shoulders during the last Disney song. When the lights finally came up, Esme adjusted her hair and waved as the bouncers herded the lonely boys out the door and onto Roosevelt Avenue. I left without turning back, as that's when the fight started. The next week passed in a blur. I went back to the Flamingo and found her again, even though Esme wore a different wig this time. It was August, and I had become a regular. I didn't feel jealous when I watched her dance with another guy until the Disney song came on and the dude did not stop grinding on her. I came back the next week, and Esme popped open the little shoulder wallet. I put 2 20s in, and we had no daylight between us for 2 hours. That's when the mayor's goons came in and shut the bar down. They had badges out with tape over their names. The lonely boys busted out through the windows. Nobody wanted to be sent back home. I got thrown on the floor, and Esme lost her little purse. The cops grabbed her and threw her in the back of a squad car, pulling off her wig and slapping her. Her dress was torn off, and a cop called her a freak. Mascara ran down her face, and the short, boyish fade of a Caesar haircut made her cheekbones shine with excess glitter under the streetlight. I looked in her purse as the squad car drove away, and Esme's legal name and library card were in there, along with $50 and an ID card for the job used at Esme. No. The ID was for Ricardo's job at Kinko's. Ricardo. The bouncer said this shit happened all the time and they could rot at Rikers until getting a court case. That night, I couldn't sleep on my bed thinking about Esme and her cute girl clothes and the men's ward at Rikers. Underneath a picture of my mom riding a donkey on the beach, I counted out $400 from my bankroll for school and $10 bills. I walked over to the precinct house in the morning and asked the cop for Ricardo E. Sandoval's case and paid the bail. Monday morning at dawn, I waited at desolate Queens Plaza for the Rikers bus. Esme's face was in the window, still with a little glitter, but with some bruises too. Her hands were really delicate, I noticed, at the Twin Donut shop, with the logo of the twins hoisting donuts over their heads. When she wiped her mouth, all I could see were her fingers. I handed her the little shoulder purse so she could put some lipstick back on. All week will turn to Friday. She will be at the Flamingo tonight, all lit up under the colored lights swirling. She will pick me out with my pop collar and the boy next door smile, soft hands. I'll take her down the floor to bachata, then cumbia, then an old school bolero, and she will hold me close. The end.
Kristabelle, that was fantastic. It is, I'm not used to hearing literary fiction that's also got that great humor. Grinding to the Disney song. That was pretty good.
It's a whole new world, you know.
Yeah, it is. No, that was moving, and God, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, and I just want to...
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Troy.
How can we read that? Like, where is that?
Okay, so I wrote that story. I started it in 2019 when I was asked, or 2018. 2019. I was asked by the largest publisher in the Philippines that they have an LGBT press, and they had wanted a story in English. Right. And so they asked for me, and I was flattered, and I wrote the story, and I, hadn't really finished it to my liking, but I finally did finish it this afternoon, and it just brought up a whole lot of feelings in me because as I try to finish a novel, I try to stay in the world of that novel, and every once in a while over the years, I've published some things like in Something in Guernica, the other anthologies, but I keep trying to finish this, this one novel, this one thing that I want to do before I die. So,
was that piece tonight part of the novel, or
no? This is strictly a short story in one world, but it's a little bit people who've read parts of my novel, like back in school, elements of that are in there. But I feel that I don't know. I just keep having this vision that within 2 to 3 years that novel will come out. And then I have this other crimey novel that I've been working on.
Good.
But I it's been nice tonight to share the story for the very first time anywhere. So the title is Kursanada, and it's spelled Kursonada. And Kursanada is it means like a desire, a want, and it comes from the Spanish word corazonada, spelled with a C. But it's the story is a little bit about has like a layer of it of the commonalities of different kinds of immigrants. And so even though Charlie is from the Philippines, they were colonized by the same country as South and Central America. So some words are similar. That pops up in my fiction sometimes. But it felt really good to share it and read it in this format tonight.
Thank you. I truly liked it. I want to read it.
Yeah.
You can go back and listen to it again, but I'm going to try to find a way to read it. I thought that was just vibrant and original, and I loved it. Thank you so much.
I'm probably going to recontact the publisher in the Philippines and say, hey, whatever happened to the anthology? I think that everything came to a stop with that because of the pandemic. So hopefully if they do the project again, and hopefully that's how it'll appear in print or somewhere else. I believe it Charlie and Esme deserve to be in print somewhere.
Yeah, I do too. That was beautiful. Thank you again.
Yeah, and thank you for starting this, and Troy and Amanda for keeping this going over this long winter. Yeah. And I just absolutely loved our class. I loved Stone Coast, all the mentors. It was life-changing for me because it was the first time in my life I was able to actually study writing. So
good.
And read. It was all about reading, right? And listen to all of you. All right. Aloha, guys.
Take care, Kristabelle. Bye. Yeah, truly, I love that story. Our next reader, I think it's Danara Wallace. I hope I got the first name right. She just told me before we got on the air. Danara is a fiction writer. She graduated just a semester before me, and so she is kind of from the same era as me. I believe she's working on a PhD. I want to hear about that and hear what she's up to. So, Danara, are you out there? Would you like to come on and read?
Yes, I am here. I am working on a PhD, so that means that this is a sort of rapid revisit to creative writing.
Good.
I'm doing a PhD in English language literature and just starting a dissertation on that. So where is my PhD, asks Indigo. It is with Kent State University in Ohio, but I actually dwell in Knoxville, Tennessee currently. So a little bit of a stretch there, but I am not to yammer on about that, but how often does somebody get to force their PhD down your throat? So
anytime you're on this show.
Right. So a part of my work is just looking at dystopian and apocalyptic novels from the 20th century and applying theories of the Anthropocene to those things. So
from the 20th century, you said?
Yes, correct.
Oh, love that stuff. Okay. I mean, my background, my first degree was in English lit, more Renaissance, but love the dystopic novel. So good luck. Congratulations for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're glad you stepped back into the creative world for a bit to visit us.
Yeah, I appreciate the invitation. Thank you.
We're great. I love doing this. I know we can't maybe do 3 people every week. It's hard to drum up that many folks, but thank you so much for being here. It means a lot to me. And we have a lot of people watching, and they're ready to hear what you have to say.
Alrighty. Thank you, Troy.
You're welcome.
So frankly, it's kind of a bit intimidating to read after Kristabelle and Indigo. I don't know. What else do you say about that? I kind of figured if I couldn't give you the highest quality of published work, I would give you ideally something that will make you laugh at some point. So I actually returned to a story that I started in 2016 and had just kind of stuck in my head. It's not autobiographical, although I did go to a David Bowie tribute band in Asheville. So I'm going to go ahead and roll on through here. So I apologize if you see me reaching toward my laptop. I have not refined my approach. So this is called Acts of Gratitude. She wafted air under her armpits from the car vents for the whole drive down from Morgantown to Asheville. Long-distance dating required more energy than she had expected. All those times that Peter would go silent, no text or email or phone call. She locked herself in the bathroom to cry, told herself she was stupid to care, ridiculous to feel worthy of his love, someone like him. Then he'd resurface like no time passed. She asked why, but he'd get defensive. Jesus, babe. Right, she stifled him. Her anxiety was such a problem. And trust issues, she knew she had those. She'd play it cool. Less cool on that particular night as sweat collected in her t-shirt. They hadn't seen each other in 3 weeks while he toured with his David Bowie tribute band. She had expectations. She could play it cool and still hope he said love in relation to her rather than tangy mustards. If only she had ordered one more Jack and Coke, maybe the memory of their last night together wouldn't sneak up on her at odd moments of the day, feeling the force of gravity around an S-curve on Raccoon Valley Road, blowing her hair dry, when Major Tom played while she sifted through discount shrimp at Kroger. Was it the emptiness of living in a crumbling cabin in the mountains of West Virginia? She'd always said she liked being alone, but after a while, being alone didn't feel as much like a choice as it did a side effect. The place was packed that night, Funky Town on Short Cocks. That's where his band You Pretty Things played. She had texted while the sun sank over the interstate in Tennessee to see if she could get in through the back door, and an hour later he replied with, "That's what she said." He claimed to be channeling the rock gods. He'd catch her after the show. So she paid the $15 cover and squeezed her way to the stage. There was a shimmering couple front and center in their custom silver spacesuits. Lots of heels and fishnets and half-drunk folks at 8 p.m. on a Thursday night. One black-haired and voluptuous lady in a bustier humped her boyfriend's leg to psycho killer. The crowd was getting off on house music. All part of the experience, and anyway, she knew who she was going home with. The lights dimmed. She strained against the crowd to lean into her cocktail. The way his eyeshadow had turned her on turns her stomach a year later. But that last night must have been all the miss you texts that aspired to snuggles and spooning. Sweet, she'd thought, knowing they wanted to ride each other like cowboys terrorizing the western plains. When they had stumbled out to her car after the show, she knew there wasn't time to recline. She jumped into the driver's seat with Peter barely fumbling into the car before she rolled down to the dark alley behind an orthodontist/psychiatrist/CBD/bail bond shopping strip. They staked out this territory before. She couldn't figure out how to dim the interior lights and gave up trying when Peter's hand pressed between her skin and panties. She wore a little pink pair with lace and a bow. "In the back," she whispered. "No condom." A little late to bring that up. "I'm on stuff." "Are you sure? Cool. I'll pull out though, just in case." Such romance. No one mentioned the incompatibility of runner's calves and skinny jeans. She might as well have wrapped her legs in saran wrap. She shimmied the jeans and panties to the floor while, slightly unfairly, she thought, Peter just unzipped and slouched his pants enough to release his member. She straddled him before he could notice her being in a shirt and no pants. God, why had it felt so good? She hated that part of the memory most, that he fit her just right. Did it feel good? Was she on there right? His fingers dug into her hips, and he closed his glittery lids. Must be in there. Yeah, okay. No. Yeah, okay, yeah, he's in. She buried herself in his neck and kissed him. This was right. This was good. Even though there was no way she'd have an orgasm, it didn't matter. Just to be with him. I love you, Peter. And after 3 quick up-downs since she fought the battle of her pants, he wheezed, "Sorry, gonna come," and pushed her away so he could ejaculate on her floor mat. "Ugh, I got a lot on my mind." He scrubbed his hands into his dark hair. She assured him that it was okay, while eyeing the glistening blob on her floor mat. The leather seat chilled her bare thighs. She had just wanted to be with him, she said, and that had been true, completely true. Her hand curled into his hair and rubbed his scalp rhythmically, tenderly, like she caressed a baby's softness. She avoided his bald spot, never touched bald spots or belly bulges without authorization. There had never been a time when she was tired of being with him, but his words had faded like temporary tattoos. Miss you and love you mean different things to different people. She hadn't accounted for that, not at the beginning and not at the end. Had she really dated someone who was on a first-name basis with Kayshawn from Kayshawn's Wigs Galore Wig Out Baby? On their third date, when he said he needed to make a quick stop, she was thinking flowers or chocolate to woo her, not real human hair feathered and sandy blonde. She stood beside a shelf of foam heads watching while he tugged on a dark wig resembling pubes. "What's it look like when I do this?" He banged his head. When Kayshawn made him buy it, because no one disrespects Kayshawn or the wigs in Kayshawn's House of Wigs, she thought it must have dawned on Peter that wig shopping is meant for long-term committed relationships, not date 3. She wanted to stretch those seconds in the back of her car into eternity. It was some kind of kismet that they even found each other. True, stupid Cupid made it the chances of meeting a bass player from a David Bowie tribute band much more likely. He viewed her profile, she looked at his. He appeared there, sans makeup, hugging a dog beside a lake on an autumn afternoon. Likes: music, nature, wool socks, a well-crafted boot, Terry Pratchett, jerky cheese. It didn't say the boots were bedazzled. Tell us a secret. Rocky Horror Picture Show changed my life. She never expected to be so invested the moment he went full-on Frankenfurter. Looking for love, lust, or lunch? I want it all. She paid for lunch every single time. He was always the one to leave first. She should have noticed it before. I'm bushed. Think I'll head home. Was she included in that statement? Without knowing, she said, okay, and scooched into her underwear. She felt her calves expanding as she reached for her jeans on the floor. Skinny is a stupid adjective. She drove him back to the bar where the other guys had loaded out amps, pedal boards, and cymbals while he had slipped away with her. Any questions she put to him were answered with shrugs and yawns. Another woman, she wondered. Could there be someone else knocking her man's sparkly boots? No, why would he ask her to drive down? Should I just head over to your place? Technically, it was his dad's place, but his dad spent most of the year carousing around an assisted living complex in Sarasota. Oh, I don't know, babe. I got a lot on my plate right now, you know. Really no free time. I drove down from Morgantown. Your choice. That's over 6 hours. Why are you on my case? God. A lump swelled and pressed on her vocal cords. I just thought you'd want to see me after being on the road for a few weeks. And then she said what she really didn't want to say, even though she meant it when she said it. I'm sorry. Hey, it's okay. Peter ran a hand through his hair, and she could see the hand pretended to comb through longer locks that now rested on his wig stand, Kayshawn's gift and curse to the balding man. You think you get so close to me, but have no idea what I go through. I'm struggling to make ends meet, hustling just to get by and live my dream. It wasn't until she was in the car driving through frozen fog in the Appalachians at 3 a.m. that she determined this statement reeked. If it wasn't complete shit, it was something very close, a moist fart. He lived at his dad's house rent-free, had no day job, continued to play in a successful tribute band without any songwriting pressure, and had a wig collection to rival Tina Turner. This she parsed out in her head that morning. It took a few weeks of hashing through his texts and rereading old stupid Cupid messages before she could admit to herself that he was the band's weakest link. Fucking bass player with no sense of rhythm. But it's not like someone accustomed to that kind of glam can go back and do a 9-to-5, right? She should have been more prepared for his phone call a few days later, all things considered. Somehow the bomb, I can't live without my music, burst on her like an IED. And instead of asking why he had to, she replied, but you can live without me? No matter how she tried to make him realize that he loved her enough to think about her feelings, he, in fact, did not. It took her a year to accept this. She had most certainly grown from the experience, more assertive, more direct. I can have casual sex. My toes are cute without polish. I don't feel bad about that brownie. My ideas make sense. Emotions do not make me crazy. She repeats her self-esteem building mantras or some variation of them in front of her reflection. She does not have casual sex, but she can. Black men, Latino guys, white bros, the mysterious mullet lady down at Frankie Dan's Boot Scootin' Bar who drinks 3 shots of Maker's Mark and shouts snippets of Walt Whitman before a quick glance and a nod in her direction. Limitless options should she choose to wrestle her pants off in the future. I wonder what Peter's doing. He probably doesn't even remember me. These thoughts undermine her self-esteem building plans for future sexcapades. Then she'd see those beady little eyes and the intense grimace of his face before kissing her. Yikes. So many nights she squeezed against the edge of the bed so she didn't encounter stray glitter or wandering hands. Yeah, performer spotlight and uninspired bass drone challenged her affections. But she had kept telling herself, this is right. It was wrong, and it was over. She didn't want to think of it anymore because last she saw he was screwing a 21-year-old with white girl dreads and a patchy 5 o'clock shadow. Those high-rise tapered jeans and cut-off Pearl Jam tee rankled. In a bolt of jealousy, she thought that stupid girl somehow resembled her, and Peter, in his lust for life, remembered nothing of their 11 months together, most likely. Then he texts, David Bowie has passed. I don't even know where to turn. She had seen the news, and she mourned as a moderate fan of rock and roll would mourn. She listened to a few cryptic tracks on YouTube and acknowledged that she sometimes cranked up modern love instead of the marvels of Bowie's youth. Her fondest memories were of his junk in Labyrinth. Who can criticize that? In her own honest nature, she could not profess to the super fandom reported by 85% of her Facebook friends. R.I.P. David Bowie. I was cool enough to like you, never hip enough to love you. She doesn't recognize Peter's number, but there's no doubt who, in the desperation of his woe, has reached out to her. Because 21-year-olds aren't great with grief, right? And they aren't even good at sex, but they can't get their jeans down over their calves without pliers. She never won arguments with herself. I'm destroyed. Knew you'd get it. Deep inside, deep in there, tucked under her ribs and diaphragm, maybe she does understand. And that hidden understanding sparks to her brain and then down to her trembling, phone-holding fingers. Loss is so hard. Grandparents, parents, pets. She knew the longing and pain that never quite resolved. Those things floated around the horizon of her psyche like rain clouds. She ached for missing loved ones on those days when she sat alone, knitting in her cabin at the end of a lane on a mountainside. She ached for them in the middle of a shopping mall at Christmas when she had no gifts to buy. Ached with grief that is obscured but not diminished by life. Love. It's just love, she determined. Love hurts, according to Nazareth and her own scarred heart. All this time, Peter crashes down from the ether after all this time. He is not lost. Social media stalking had been a temptation, but she'd let it go after thoroughly checking into the background of the new lover, a gamer, medieval fair juggler, and amateur photographer. Amateur everything, she'd guessed. It wasn't healthy to stalk, and she has a life to manage, a teaching job at a community college, more emotionally distant men to meet via Stupid Cupid, the kindness of one flannel-covered big-rig driving lady from Frankie Dan's Boot Scootin' Bar to appreciate, small furry animals to squeeze. There are good things in her life, and watching Peter live his isn't one of those. No one even knew he was sick, like a fucking meteor came down and took our angel. This grief is black and bottomless. You know how it is. Grief, 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 grief. It's one of those words that you can keep repeating and starts to lose any semblance of an intelligible word. I can't go out there with my bass tonight, yet I owe it to him. This is what I do. What is the appropriate greeting for someone who dumped you via telephone after 5 minutes conversation on the weather and his hinky alternator in a 97 Accord? He texts, "Can you talk? I want to talk." Things he never said, but she came to understand. I love you, but not enough to make you a part of my life. I have dreams. You aren't one of them. I want you to be available whenever I'm bored, horny, sad, and or lonely. I want you to be available. I want you. I want. She knows what that means. Each time her phone vibrates with another message, her vagina cringes. If it could suck into itself like a turtle, it would. But she does care. She always has. She did love him, but maybe it was the way in which you love a dog with fleas. There's a need there, and she does need to be needed, and here he is in turmoil and sadness. Her vagina begins to relax as she remembers those vague and gentle brushes, quick kisses, and inoffensive copulation. It was nice, right? Being wanted, wanting someone, sharing tater tots and boxed wine, snuggling and watching bootlegged concert videos on cold nights during dark winter weeks. So many things, perspectives, ideas have changed for her, but she has the same heart. Sorry, I don't know who this is. She sends it before thinking any longer. Jesus, he thought jorts were ironic. She whispers that to herself and gauges her humiliation with the back of her hand against a hot cheek. The phone vibrates once, twice, but she drops it in her purse without looking. Pasta's boiling over and Bridget Jones falls off her exercise bike. The cat jumps on the table and retches some saliva onto her students' essays. She has grief and she has sorrow. She is still receiving 10% hotness and hose discount postcards from Kayshawn's Wigs Galore, Wig Out Baby. But she doesn't pretend to love Bowyer bases, which is at least some remedy for regret. She shuttles the pasta from stove to sink and remembers she's singing karaoke at the bar tomorrow night with her new friend Darl. They've planned matching flannels. Darl will buy her Jack and Coke before she arrives and will have already scared a couple of good old boys away from her stool. They're going to sing as much Kenny Loggins as they can squeeze between the bros loading up their Garth Brooks and Toby Keith. They've both been to the danger zone before. They don't need rescued to find their way out. It took some practice, but she's learned to sing tributes to herself. Thank you.
Danara, that was brilliant.
Thank you.
It was funny. It was moving. You do not have to worry about coming after anybody else. It was a fantastic story.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind.
It's very true. Now, is that published? Can we read that somewhere, or is that just something you've got?
No, that's just something I worked up for tonight, so thank you.
When did you start that?
I had a draft of it from 2016, I think, and when Kristabelle mentioned the reading, for whatever reason, it popped into my mind, so I just worked on it this week and got it ready.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah,
I try after everyone reads to say something, supportive, kind, but the three of you have been so superb that I'm almost a little speechless. But I loved the character, the reality of her experience, the comedy and the sadness, all of it. It was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I want to talk to you about dystopic novels, but we're past time. And your story should just stay out there for everyone to ponder. It was so, so good. We'll have you back, Danara, sometime. And good luck with that PhD.
Thanks.
You bet. Bye-bye. Wow, I have to say, tonight, I'm always impressed by the quality of the writing that the Stone Coast alumni bring out. And I'm supposed to, in between readers, mention who I am and what we're doing. So we're wrapping up, but my name is Troy Myers. I'm a graduate of the Stone Coast MFA in Creative Writing. And on every Sunday night so far, the last couple of months, we've had 2 or 3 alumni read. Tonight we had 3 fantastic readers. The poet Indigo Moor has a new book out. Everybody's jonesing for something. Right now I'm jonesing for his book. Kristabelle, who read a beautiful story published in the Philippines, and Danara Wallace, the end, who you just heard with that's marketable and literary. I was so impressed tonight. So we had fantastic readers. We hope they all come back and read for us in the future. So do you want to pop up? Is anyone left around? Do you want to all come back and say goodbye? Or, hey, Indigo's here. Danara's here. Hey, everybody's there. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Amanda. That's Amanda.
Here I
Thank
am.
you,
Thank you,
Troy. This was
everyone, for
wonderful.
joining.
Yes, this was truly wonderful. Thank you, Andy. Andy. Troy. Yeah.
I could be Andy. Come everyone, Indigo. Thank you all. It's the highlight
I
of my
meant to
week.
tell Amanda it got confused in there. Thank you for bringing it all together.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Yes, good night, everyone. Wewe'll see you all
All right.
again.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.